Okay, hi YouTube. I'm just waiting now for my TikTok. My audience is really on TikTok. I'm not big on YouTube here. I can't figure it out. TikTok's more press and go. YouTube, you have to think and keywords, and it's just too much for my brain. So, okay. Hi Nora. You've been here before, haven't you? Aisha, have you? Hey, you've been here before, I think. Aisha. Sherry, I don't remember Sherry. Okay. While we're waiting for people to turn up, hi Lizard. I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. I might have some new people because I got a lot of new followers lately, and that's what happens. New people turn up to these lives, which is good. I was just going to give you a warning, but never mind. Okay, Minnesota, Calgary. Hi, Minnesota and Calgary, Minnesota. You've been here before, haven't you, Brenda? Okay, Calgary. Hi, Calgary. I've been there a few times. Spent a couple of weeks there a couple times. Nanaimo, had family there. Nanaimo. Oh, neighbor. Hi, neighbor. What is that, Nora? Is that Switzerland? What is that? Is that a Swiss flag? Let me know. I'm curious. New York. Hi, Lady V. You've been here before. So where are you from? Oh, it's Denmark. Oh, okay. I'm Norwegian, half Norwegian. By the way, just give you a warning. It's a really hot day. It's the end of my workday. I'm having a beer, and I'm not good with this. So if I even start to feel the effects of it, I freak out because I don't want to give you the wrong advice. So I claim drunk and I run. Takes me about a quarter of a beer to get drunk. So we'll see how I go. Sorry about that. I meant to do the live earlier, but I can still function okay, I guess. But I take my business so seriously. I don't want to tell you anything in a drunken haze after a quarter of a beer. We'll see how long I last. Okay. Lots before Brenda. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, let's get going. As I said, I've got a lot of new followers in the last few days, so I'm going to get new people in here. So, yeah. Oftentimes when I get new people, they're not quite ready for what I've got to say. So I get some backlash. We'll see how we go. I love all that stuff. Anyway, if you go in the link above there, you can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board that teaches you how to give respect to get it, because you're on that behavior too. That's what makes it work. Okay, let's get going with your parenting questions. I just did a video on how to get respect with your toddler. I threw it out there, didn't even think about what I was saying, and then I watched it. I thought, that was really good. There's some actually good points in there, something I hadn't even thought of before. So anyway, look at that later on if you've got a toddler. Okay, when do you start ignoring tantrums? Is there too young an age? Yeah, too young. I would say about 16 months. You can start to ignore it, but you're still there. You're just not looking at them or talking to them. You're not on your phone. You're not talking to somebody else. You're still there. They can be climbing on you and that, but you're not really giving them any attention, okay? You're just kind of looking like you're just waiting for them to stop. Because I always say you ignore the crazy, reward the calm. 16 months and over, they can start to sort of get that. They'll start to sort of learn. But under that, I do kind of ignore them a little bit, but I get real serious and calm, and I might sit and start reading one of their books out loud. They can sit in my lap and read with me kind of thing. But I still don't. I'm not really looking at them or talking to them. I'm just sitting there reading a book. They're welcome to climb in my lap, and we'll just read a book together. So I'm using diversion more with babies. Okay. It's a good question, though. When do you stop ignoring tantrums? When they're about 80 or 90 years old. I think that's, I had a whole psychological thing. I was going to do a video on this, and I thought, is this too much, like for me to explain? But there's a whole bunch of feelings out there about tantrums, and I always say to ignore a tantrum. People have a fit whenever I say that. You're ignoring their emotions and their big feelings, and I always say you don't need to validate every single thought and feeling, because then you're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues, right? You didn't validate all my feelings. Well, I'm just a bus driver, lady. Like, you just don't want to do that. You're not building fortitude, strength. Anyway, the reason for that is they don't need to discuss their feelings yet. Their feelings are just forming. Their feelings are, they need you to enter their world and be as much fun as possible. That's what parents tend to talk more than do. I would rather play a lot more with the kids in their world than talk to them. When they're little, they want you to play with them. That is their language. That is their therapy. Enough parents don't do that. They don't get in their toddler's world. You don't play with them by sitting and watching them. You get in their world, roll around the floor with them. That is what they want. That's what they need. Okay. Okay. That's good. I got myself out of breath there. Sometimes I get going so much, I work up a sweat. You should see me in coaching. Anyway, okay. My daughter is 3 and 4 months. Okay. She is starting to tell me no after I tell her to not spit her juice. Okay, so she says no when you say don't spit her juice. She says no. That's okay. Just take her juice away for a second. Say no when she spits it. No, she spits her juice. You say, tell me no. You say no. Don't say don't spit your juice. She already knows. You just take the juice away and then just ignore her for a little while. You're engaging with her. That's why she's saying no. I would pretend I didn't even hear it. Give it no power whatsoever. None. Why does my toddler get really mad sometimes when she's talked to or looked at? I don't think much of it, but my Mill does. I don't know what you mean. Get really mad when she's talked to or looked at. So is she not getting, they don't get mad if you just look at them unless they're not getting their own way. The only thing that makes a toddler mad, they might be tired or hungry, or something's hurt them, or they're mad because they didn't get their own way. So I don't quite know what you mean. Looking at a toddler doesn't make them mad unless they're already not getting their own way. So I don't quite know what you mean by that. Oh, when they throw themselves on the ground in a tantrum. Actually, I have a course on that. I have mini courses for toddlers, and it's a tantrum busting course. It's just up there on the link if you're interested. But basically, you restrain them. You still ignore them. You don't look at them or talk to them, but you hold them. So you always prevent them from violence. You prevent them from hurting themselves, hurting someone else, or damaging property. You're still not looking at them or talking to them. There's no point. You can do it if you want, but good luck with that. You might want to go and listen to someone else if you're going to do that, because there's just no point whatsoever. None. You don't do the mini therapy sessions. You said, okay, so this is the one that's almost 3. Yeah. Okay, and then you said, she used to be very nice and obedient, but now she wants to do whatever she wants. Okay. That says to me that you're not a leader. I'm not big on the word obedient. I don't like obedient little soldiers. I would rather raise children who make good choices. There's a bit of a difference. But yeah, I'm just getting picky here. I don't like the word obedient. It's like, we don't want that. I don't want obedient kids. I want kids who make good choices, respectful. Okay, anyway, you're not a leader. She's almost 3 in 4 months. She's almost 3. She's just finding her power. She's realizing you're not a leader. And she's thinking, oh, I got some power here. That's what's happening. That often happens when they hit 3 if you're not a leader. If you're a leader, they don't do that. They know when you're in charge. They just know. Some kids engage in this behavior because they want attention. I could go in a million different ways with that. I'm going to let that lie. If anyone else wants to elaborate and get more specific about that comment, I've got a lot to say about it. Kids don't misbehave to get attention. Okay, but I could go on too long with that one. So, okay. He's 1.5 and never listens. He will hit me when I say no. Okay, just make sure he doesn't. So if you know he's going to hit you, when you say no, then you make sure you're not available to be hit. Okay, don't allow that to happen. Take charge. Once he starts hitting you and knows he can, he's getting some power. So yeah, if I know a kid's going to hit me when I say no to them, I'm just going to restrain. I'm going to hold their hands. I'm going to say no, hold their hands, then I'm going to walk away. So yeah, don't let them enter that zone. Okay. Week 2 behavior board. Good. So you've done. Hi, Desi. What do I do? I know you. What do I do in the moment when my 5-year-old is doing everything I say not to do? What do I do in the moment when I'm 5? So you're only in week 2 with the 5. Did you read ahead? Because you talked about in the moment. Okay. You must have read the whole course. You have the course. So, okay. Week 2 behavior board. What do I do in the moment when my 5-year-old is doing everything I say not to do? So, but the behavior board's going okay. Don't worry about the rest. Just don't worry about it. It's really important that your only focus is that behavior board. You should have 2 behavior boards now, week 1 and week 2. That's all you care about. The rest of it, at the very most, I might say, I'll tell you what, I don't like what you're doing right now. That might be another behavior board, and then let it go. Because you can only focus on those 2 things. You know what it's like? It's like if you're learning how to fly, the flying instructor each week will show you a different dial, or maybe 2 dials at a time. And it would be like, and then parents always say to me, I want to fly. Well, you've only learned 2 dials. So you can't, what I'm saying is you can't worry about all the behavior. We've just chosen 2 rules to focus on, because all you're doing is exercising your leadership. You're learning how to discipline. I just had a client today and I said, toss the behavior boards. Now you're ready to go. You don't need the behavior boards anymore. So now they're going to be addressing everything. That's how it works. So the behavior boards are just teaching tools for you, not your children. So yeah, they're going to do everything else wrong because they think, well, these behavior, they're going to put up a little bit of a fight. It usually gets worse before it gets better. They're going to put up a little bit of a fight because they've got these brand new behavior boards. And if you're following through on those, they're going to wreak havoc with everything else. That's okay. This is a process. It's not an overnight thing. It's worth it, but it's not an overnight thing. You are packing your tool belt, your parenting tool belt right now. You are learning how to be a leader. Once you get there, once you get good at this, all those bad behaviors start to melt away. They just do. They all start to drop off quite quickly. Once they realize you're a leader, all that stuff goes away. So you never even have to address a lot of it. But whining whenever I ask my daughter to do something. How old? What should I do when my son? I need to know the ages. Because are they 6 or 2 or 16? It makes a big difference. How do I get my almost 2-year-old to stop hitting me all day? I feel like I've tried everything. Yeah. Now remember, they learn through consistent corrective action. So once they've gotten that habit of hitting you, it's working because you're getting upset. Like if a child went to hit me, I would prevent it. Once I know they're a hitter, as soon as I see them coming at me, I grab their arm and I say no. And then I walk away. I don't allow them to hit me. So they learn that, hey, you can't hit this one. She knows what she's doing. Like they just learn. Okay. But then you're not angry with them. Once they've calmed down, then you engage with them in their world. You play with them. But boy, if you're playing with them and having fun and they hit you during that, I'm out of there like a shot. Got to be fast. You get out of there really fast. So if I was having fun with a kid, we're playing on the floor and a 2-year-old reached over and hit me, I'd be up and out. I wouldn't even say anything. Because at that point, if you have a history of them hitting you and you saying no, they know what they've done wrong. And then you're out of there. You might come back a few minutes later. If they hit you again, you're out of there again. It's actions, not words, not words, no words, no words, no words. They're not stupid. They know why you got up and walked away. Fewer words, the better. Silence is golden. Okay, Deanna, 7. Now I have to go back and find your question. Just a sec. I get dizzy when I go backwards. Just a minute. 7, 7, 7, 7. Deanna, whining whenever I ask my daughter to do. Oh, she's 7. Okay, you're not a leader. Work on your leadership skills. You've taught her to do that. That's learned behavior at the age of 7. If she was 2, different story. At 7, it's learned behavior because it's working. At that age, they only do what works. It says to me it works. It either gets on your nerve or you give in eventually because of the whining. That's what makes it work. So yeah, think about it. Set yourself up as a leader. I do have a full course on how to get respect in 5 weeks. If you're interested, it sets you up as a leader in 5 weeks. But yeah, work on your leadership skills. If you want my free help, this is it right now, or you can download my free behavior board. That's also on the link above. Everything's up in that link above there. But yeah, she just doesn't respect you. Work on your leadership skills. That's a big tell for me. No respect there at all. By the way, just because they don't respect you doesn't mean they don't love you. Okay, so don't take it personally. Just work on your leadership skills. Everyone, parenting's the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training, and yet everyone expects you to be an expert, especially you. That's ridiculous. You got to train yourself how to do this. Everyone's taking Lamaze class. What a total waste of money for me anyway. Once that kid starts coming out, Lamaze, who cares? Breathing, shut up. I'm going to breathe. I'm just gasping for air at this point. But then no one takes parenting classes. That's the hard part once they're out, right? Everyone trains for that one day labor. That's nothing compared to what the 18 years you got coming up. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. Then you'll sail right through the teen years like I did. Get that leadership stuff, that friendship, that trust. They're going to tell you everything. You're a safe place to land. You're a good listener. You're a good negotiator when they're teenagers. Okay, so you want all that healthy, that fun stuff. You just want it to be easy and happy. You just want everyone to get along. I had so many people say to me, every time we see you, we had a little blue RAV4. And they used to say, every time we see Lisa's blue RAV4 go by with her kids, this is all we see. Like we were all laughing all the time. Like we just had a blast. I got all that pesky discipline in place, when they were tiny, mutual respect, and we just relaxed and had fun. That's what you want. So you work on those skills. Anyone can do this. You can learn how to be a leader. You can learn how to be friends with your kids. You can learn how to get them to tell you everything. Oops. Oh, okay. Sorry, that was my daughter. She's on the go, so she doesn't know I'm on a live. Just a sec. Doing a live. There we go. Never ignore my kids. I ignore everyone else when I'm doing a live, though. Unless if I've got a crisis client, I won't ignore that. What did I do wrong here? I just lost something. I just lost YouTube for some reason. Why did I do that? Just a sec. I think I deleted YouTube. There we are. Sorry, I got you back. Okay. Yes, kids that have parents who don't play with them misbehave to get attention. They'll do anything. They don't misbehave to get attention. They do anything to get attention. So it's not like they just go, I'm going to misbehave to get attention. It's an old saying and it is valid, but it's not all they do. They do anything to get, they'll hug you too much. They'll do anything to get attention, or they will shut down. They don't all misbehave to get attention. Sometimes they misbehave because they're not getting what they want, when they want, and how they want it. Because they know if they push you hard enough, you're going to give in, and even though you said no earlier. So yeah, misbehaving isn't always just to get attention. That's where I was going with that. And sometimes kids who don't have enough attention don't misbehave anyway. They shut down, and they're the easy kids, but actually they're shut down. I've said that in the past too. Sometimes they misbehave to get attention, but overall, that's not a blanket statement I would throw out there. I don't think I'd do it anymore. I wouldn't say that anymore. Okay, Desiree, never would get this way, but now he gets mad in a way I've never seen. Okay, I forgot the age. What should I do when my son's crying? Did you put the age down, Desiree? I need the age. Okay, Desi. Okay, so you've got my course. I know you do. Oh, I think I might have aimed too high on the behavior board. Should I go back to week 1? Yeah, go back to week 1. Just start. It's all about the behavior board. Forget about everything else. I could care less. I could care less what else they're doing. Parents get really frustrated with me in week 1 because they say, sometimes they'll send me a huge sheet of what they want me to work on in week 1. And I'll say, I'm going to pick one thing. And it's usually not even the one they want me to work on. So I say, it has nothing to do with all the behavior. It has to do with your leadership skills. I'm going to pick something I think would serve you best in learning how to be a leader. So on that behavior board, number 1, pick a rule and a consequence. Make sure you can make it work. Okay. And then the next week, you've got another rule and a consequence for everybody, every member of the family. Make that work. And the behavior board is your only focus. When you get good at by the 3rd behavior board, you'll see a shift in the kids and yourself, because they're going to react to the fact, hey, mom and dad know what they're doing now. And they just get better. Because remember, that behavior board, your consequences is usually doing something fun with the kids. If you yell at the kids, you have to play hide and seek with them for 10 minutes or whatever. You have to do something nice with them. You have to bond with them. So it's more of a bonding board. With teenagers, it's a connection board more than anything. It's not about discipline or behavior with teenagers. It's about connecting with them. Anyway. Okay. I'm seeing some new people in here. So yeah, I've got a lot of new followers in the last 3 days, so I knew I was going to get new people in here. What if my 5-year-old smacks my 7-year-old for nothing? 7 is very common, 5 is a Texas tornado. Well, then you got to have a behavior board. Everyone's on there. Everyone's got a rule. The 5-year-old, no hurting other people. That's what you say. And when they do, they have to do something nice for that person. So if the 5-year-old hits a 7-year-old, the 7-year-old, they have to make their bed the next day or something like that. They have to do their chores or something. They have to do something. You're mean to someone, you have to make it up to them. You have to make amends. I always say there's 4 steps to a proper apology. This is sort of a little bit separate, but it's the idea. So if you do something wrong, like let's say you're late and you're consistently late or whatever, you're just got an issue with it, and you keep your friend waiting in the rain because you're just late. So you turn up, there's 4 steps to apologizing. The first one is you say, I'm sorry, I don't really care about that. The second one is be accountable. Say it was all my fault. Yeah, I know there was traffic, but I should have known that. The third one is really important. Say, what can I do to make it up to you? How about I buy the ticket tonight? Okay, you make amends. Make amends. The word sorry, it's overused. This just drives me freaking insane. Someone will slaughter someone's whole family in court, and then they'll get up and they'll say, I'm sorry. Where's your forgiveness? The word sorry, you just slaughtered. I just don't, it's just overused. Anyway, and then the 4th step to apologizing is stop repeating the same crime. Like, don't be late next time. So say, I'm sorry, it was all my fault. What can I do to make it up to you? And then stop doing it. So with the little one, that's sort of the idea. If the 5-year-old's hitting, then I don't even care about teaching them to say sorry. I think that's overused with little ones. It's not going to teach them anything right now. But down the road, you want to teach your children how to apologize effectively. Adults can use this too, by the way. It's like, I said I was sorry. You didn't forgive me. Well, it doesn't, like as if that's all it takes. Where's the amends? What are you going to do to make it up to me? Well, you're not very forgiving. It's just this word sorry is so overused. It's thrown around like that's all you have to do. Really? Really? Who raised you? Like, that's ridiculous. Where's the amends? What can I do to make it up to you? My kids loved it when I messed up. If I was rushing them out of the house and being unfair and unreasonable because we were running late, now come on, let's go, and I was getting hard, they used to look at each other like this. Because as soon as we got in the car, they would go, Mom, I know, I was rushing you. I was being impatient. Sorry, what do you want? And then they would say, we'd like to go to the water slide park after school. How's that? So sure enough, that's where I'd take them. So I made amends. They loved it when I messed up. I'm really good at apologizing. And my son used to say, that's because you've had so much practice. Yeah, making amends, it's really important. So when someone hurts someone else, they have to do something nice for them. You're not just teaching your children what not to do, you're teaching them what to do something nice. That's why with the disciplines, the punishments, the consequences on the behavior board, you start with a positive action. Hard to get them to do that sometimes. That's why we have the negative deprivation. Sure, you won't make her bed. That's fine by me. Media blackout for 24 hours starts now. And it's happening. That's why we have that one. The backup. We always have 2 consequences for the kids. That's all of my link up above. If you want my help, and check all that stuff out. So I've got 3 different levels, the free behavior board. Then the next level is the course, 5 weeks to get respect if you have 3 to 12-year-olds. Then the top level is hiring me one-on-one coaching. So sorry's been erased from our vocabulary. It's a word that's overused anyway. I mean, you always start by saying sorry, but that just gets the ball rolling. The second one is it was all my fault. You're totally accountable. Then what can I do to make it up to you? Think about that. Do adults do that? I've known people in my life who just do the same thing, not my life anymore, but they do the same thing repeatedly. I said I was sorry, you're not very forgiving. They keep doing it over and over and over again. There's nothing in it for me. It's just like this, and I'm not very forgiving, but you see how that's passive aggressive. They turn it all around. Think about that. Thank you, lady. You're so patient. I'm very patient with kids. Not so much with myself. Very hard on myself. I'm getting better. I'm in my 60s. You get old, you get better. You like yourself more when you're old. You're nicer to yourself when you get old. Oh, you got an autistic child? That is coaching, one-on-one coaching. I don't deal with that here on TikTok. That's a specialty. But ADHD, ODD, WXYZ, that is not coaching. Those are all the kids I learned all this on. My kids were easy. I got respect when they were tiny and sailed right through the teen years. I didn't learn much with them. Although I did learn how to live with teens and raise them right through to adulthood. That's something, that's a whole other thing. But they were easy overall because I got respect when they were little. But yeah, I learned with all the other kids. I worked with hundreds of kids. And no one ever said, here's an easy one, Lisa. They always said, good luck with this one, Lisa. So I always got the challenging kids. That's where I learned all this. That's where I learned my patience with troubled teens. That the delinquent teenagers, mentoring them, that's where I learned. I had no idea I was so patient. No idea. Sorry almost means nothing to me now. It's an overused word. It's empty because it's rarely backed up with anything. I said I was sorry, so I killed your whole family. You're not very forgiving. Just think about it. Think about it. It's all about, it's just a trend right now. Forgiveness is for you. No, it's not. It's for the other person. Come on. Come on. It's for the other person. It's ridiculous. It's just one of those crappy psychological things that will disappear. We're going to look back on that and say, what the heck were we thinking? It's a lot of stuff like that that we look back on. That was wisdom back in the day, but now it's garbage. Okay. How long should I ignore tantrums if they just keep going on and on? Completely, all the time, forever. And when you're ignoring them, you're still there. You're puttering around. You're doing the dishes. La, 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 la. The longest I ever heard a kid go on for, and it was awful, but it had to be done. This kid was over 5 years old, so it had to be done. And the parents were very distraught. I had to talk them off the ledge. And also I said, don't start this week. We're going to go into some other stuff first. But I said, don't deal with the tantrums this week because it's going to be too hard on you. So eventually we worked them up the courage. This kid would have tantrums for 4 to 5 hours, vomiting, almost passing out. Do you know why? Because eventually the parents gave in every single time. And once the parents stopped giving in, funny, the tantrum stopped. But it usually gets worse before it gets better, because they remember the old you giving in. How to wean off comfort nursing? I don't wean them off. If they're like over 1, that's it. That's the end of it. I wore different clothes. I made sure they didn't have access. If I was sitting on the couch, they would have found those boobs if they wanted them, so long, but I'd bind myself up. So, but yeah, and also I passed them off to their dad a lot. So I just did it like that. I got them new sippy cups, and I made a big deal out of it. Oh, look at this! No more of this. No, look at this. So, I think I actually put breast milk in the cups initially, though, but they didn't. They weren't attached to me anymore. My son was 10 months old. He weaned himself. He was one of those. He'd take the nipple with him. He wanted to look around, so it was very painful. Finally, I gave in. I gave him the bottle. And he just loved it. He had his feet on it. And, he was just loved it. My daughter was 14 months old. She could have gone till she was 3. She didn't want to be weaned, but I did it. Yeah, throwing up. Yeah, this kid boy, did this kid have their parents wrapped around his little finger, and he knew it. Okay. Uh, Okay, my 5-year-old unclips the car seat and I have a panic attack. I need a padlock. Yeah, that is something that there are evidently safety things you can get. I've had clients who do that. You pull over right away. That's the only time I would yell and scream at a child. You get that? I'm not a yeller. I never yelled. And my parents never yelled either. Just if you're not raised by yellers, you don't tend to do it. So, but yeah, I would scream. I would scare the bejeebies out of that kid to get that seatbelt on as I'm pulling over as soon as possible. I would scare the bejeebies out of them. So yeah, I don't take that one lightly at all. That's life and death stuff, right? They could go shooting right through the windscreen if you got hit or something. Oh, it's the only time I would say yell. Autistic car seat locks. I had one that did that. Yeah, there are different locking mechanisms. There's different ones, but I've actually seen one, and it's just like this cover that you put on. And I don't remember how it locked, but it was a cover that went across the whole locking system. Oh, okay. So what if you've been a yeller this whole time? Most of my parents yell, most of my clients yell. How do I scare them? Oh, okay, well, just pull over. But I'm not saying that yelling is the thing to do. I'm just saying that's the only time that you get a free pass with yelling, is if it's safety. Look out for that semi-trailer. Look out for that, you know what I'm saying? Don't walk over that cliff. So that kind of stuff. He isn't fazed by yelling. The reason is he's used to hearing it. That's why. Yelling has a shelf life. It works initially, and then it backfires. By the way, they stop listening, then it backfires down the road. They start yelling at you. It gets ugly. Okay. Yeah, yelling isn't, you pull over. Okay. And then you would put down there's a million different things. Whenever I get too many ideas in my head, I start to fumble. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, yelling isn't the answer to that. It's just that's the only time I would scream to scare the kid to put the seatbelt on. Um, but I'd be trying to pull over. 3-year-old that is sometimes less than compassionate and kind to pet cats. Okay, I say this every single time someone says if an animal's being abused by a child, rehome the animal. I'm an animal lover. I have animals all through my kids' lives. There was so many rules around those animals. They never picked one up. They just knew you treat those animals with respect. I would have rehomed them. If I had kids who were mean to animals, I would have rehomed. Well, maybe the kids too. But sometimes I thought it'd be better to rehome the kids. But no, my kids never did that. But what I'm saying is lots of my clients have actually rehomed their pets. How can you stop being a yeller? Well, you find out what else to do. That's what I teach. I teach you what else to do. So a leader doesn't yell. Like I never yelled. My parents never yelled. I never once ever heard them fight, argue, or yell. Our kids never heard us. We divorced, but they never heard us argue or anything. And we weren't yellers at all. So, but we did. We knew what else to do. You only yell because you don't know what else to do. You can check out. I have in my link up there. My free behavior board, or you can buy my course, or you can hire me for coaching. That's the top level. So if you want to learn how to do all this, it's just leadership skills. You set yourself up as a calm leader. You can be crazy. I was crazy. I was a nutcase. I was that goofy mom. I was crazy. But when everything was good, if my kids ever stepped a toe out of line, I would have gone like this, excuse me? Like I was very quiet and serious. My son used to say, if my mom ever whispers, run, because that's when I'm disciplining. So my kids didn't need it. But if they had visiting kids over, they sometimes needed it. And I go, excuse me, that's not tolerated here. So here's what's going to happen. So that's how I discipline. It's very quiet, very calm, very, very calm. That's the calm leadership I talk about. The rest of the time, I'm nuts, underpants on my head, chasing kids around the house, because I could do that because my kids were so respectful. I tried whispering, throws them off and calms me. Yeah. My kids both had a teacher named Ann Walker, Mrs. Walker. She was the older teacher that all the other teachers went to for advice. And both my kids lucked out and got her in grade 3. They were 5 years apart, but they both got her. And when my son got her, he said, Mom, she's just like you. The kids listen to her, and all she has to do is whisper. So, there's real power in that. A leader only has to whisper. So anyone can learn this. That's what I teach. I teach calm leadership. You want to have fun with your kids. You want to be fun. Plus, you bond with your children in their world. You discipline your children in their world. That's why you get rid of these mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings and big emotions. That's for you. They don't need therapy. They just don't need it. It's ridiculous. They learn through example. They learn through how you have a positive household. When they do something naughty, you address it. That's how they learn. Their emotions are very calm and very controlled. They're very happy and well-adjusted children. You're meeting all their needs because you're entering their world. You look at kids. Do they have many therapy sessions together? No, that's not their world. That's all for you. It's all self-serving you. That's all it's doing. I know they're trendy. It's this, I know it's a real trend right now. I get it. It's this pleaser parent trend. That's my nemesis. I have to undo all that stuff every time I get a new client who's been doing it. We have to repair all that damage. You enter their world. That's how you get through to children. Our son is just so strong-willed and we're not calm. Well, I never worked with an easy kid. They were all strong-willed, defiant, violent, dangerous sometimes. I always stayed calm. That it works. But you got to mix it up. It's a whole bunch of stuff. It's not like this is all you do. It's a whole process. It's a whole package, right? That behavior board is just the first step, sort of. The course goes into more detail, and coaching goes into the exact same detail as the course, but I address your personal needs. Like a lot of parents have, mental health issues because maybe they're going through something in their own life, or they're just having to be a next level kind of an issue with their kids, or they just like the one-on-one. They want that personal attention. So that's the top of the line. But the course has basically all the information in there on how to be a leader. But it's a whole package. You can't just pick and choose what you like from me, and then you pick and choose what you like from someone else. Like you can't do that. It's like dieting. You got to pick a path, pick a whole methodology and go with it. Give it 3 weeks. If you don't see any results, say she doesn't know what she's talking about and go on and try someone else, okay? It's a whole package that has to be put together. Like if you threw time out into my method, it would tank. I hate time out. I think it's humiliating and mean. I hate it. Do you imagine if a boss did that to you? You think about this. When you're disciplining children, think about how you would feel if you were yelled at by your boss, or if your boss threw you into a corner to think about what you did. Just think. How would you feel? It's the same for them. Oh, my dog's next door, I think. Oh, good, they took them down quickly. They have two little dogs, and they hate this other dog if they can smell that other dog in the hallway, they freak out. The other dog is quite violent, has to have a muzzle. They're terrified of him. You don't get an 18-month-old to listen. You guide them in the right direction, okay? You completely childproof your whole house so you never have to say no. That's one thing. Do a toy rotation system so that they always have new stuff to look at, okay? And then if they're going to throw food, you say no, and then you hand feed them. You just take charge. They learn. They're watching. They're not listening to you, though. No words. You don't have to say words. You don't even have to speak to them half the time. They throw something, you just pick it up, and then you hand feed them. They get it. It's consistent corrective actions with 18 months old. It's not words. I'm not saying you never talk to them, but that's not what gets through to them. It's the actions that do. My toddler doesn't interact with my 7-month-old. Why would he? Why would a 2-year-old want to interact with a potato? Like why would they? Some will, but I can understand why they wouldn't. They're not exciting enough. They will, when the little one gets on their feet and starts running around, then they'll start to interact, but not now. Your expectations are off with that. Yeah, the little one's just a potato. Like, that's just like not exciting to the older one. Okay, Desi, yeah, I think we need someone. Yeah, lots of people who take that course, when they get to a certain point, they'll hire me for a session or more to go along with that course, because it's got all the information in there. It's kind of like an encyclopedia to refer to. But if sometimes you're just doing something wrong, and that's not something you're going to be able to figure out potentially. Like, that's something I can figure out pretty quick, because parents will say, well, we're doing the course, and then they'll hire me, and I'll say, oh, but you were rolling your eyes. And I think I've even put it in there. Do not do this. Well, okay, here's the consequence, because you broke that rule. Like, if you do that, you erase all the good work. You never roll your eyes at someone. It's so passive aggressive. But again, a lot of parents do that. I say, you show me exactly how you talk to the kids. And they'll go like this, and you did that wrong. And they'll do something like that. That erases all the good stuff. That's not how you discipline. But yeah, it could just be something little, just the littlest thing. That's the good side. Mine like to dress the babies up like a doll. So if you have a toddler that likes to dress it, sometimes they will interact with them, but I can see why most of them don't. Most of them don't. My husband's rule is don't be rude. He's the eye roller. Is the rule for him not to be rude? Because eye rolling is rude. But is that his rule toward the kids? Don't be rude. That's ridiculous. What kind of a rule is that? Don't be rude. Okay. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's like saying, be good. Okay. Where's the lesson? Where's the inspiration? Where's the leadership? That's just more like a threat. It's empty. It doesn't mean anything. How much is your fee? Just look in the thing up there. All the prices are in there. Laugh so loud I woke my baby up when you said validate my feelings. I'm just the bus driver. No one usually laughs at that. I think that's hilarious. You can see that though, right? Like this validating the feelings. And it's not that you're ignoring them, but you're just such a positive inspiration to them, and they end up telling you everything. But in the moment when they're naughty, you ignore them. That's when you ignore them. Later on, you can discuss anything you want. But yeah, it's this validating every single thought, feeling, burp, fart. You don't have to do that. It's ridiculous. Okay. I just did a video, and I think it's freaking brilliant. It's one of my best videos ever. No one will even look at it. Every time I put a video out there and I go, this one's gold, no one looks at it. And then I'll put one out and I think, well, this one's awful. Get like 1 million views. I can't figure it out. But look, check it out later. It's how to get respect with a toddler. I think it's a really good video. It's one of my best videos ever because I thought of something new while I was doing it. I can't think ahead, and I never plan. I have to think as I'm doing it. My best stuff comes out when I'm just talking. So Yeah, I can't write any. That's why I haven't got a book. I couldn't possibly write it down. I have to talk it out. Anyway, so yeah, check out that video later if you have a toddler. I think it's a really good one. But of course, no one will look at it. Probably get 5 views. Isn't that weird? I can't figure that out. My daughter and I laugh at that all the time. Okay. Oh, a teenage question. All I ever talk about on here is toddlers because that's all the questions I get. I've given in. I'm just talking about toddlers now. I specialize in teenagers. I love teenagers. I started my business with now I'm all excited now, 15-year-old. By the way, I'm usually hired if I'm hired for coaching with a teenage boy, it's almost always 15 or just turned 15. It's bizarre. Girls are 12 to 16, just the average age. Okay, 15-year-old boy just doesn't want anything to do with me anymore unless it's food. I know exactly how you feel. I'm going to tell you all about me and my son. Best friends, laughed constantly, just a blast. We're best friends. He was 14, and every single morning he'd get up and I'd say, "Morning, sweetie," and he'd go, "Morning, mom," and we'd start laughing and talking and like girlfriends, just best friends. And then he turned 15, and I'll never forget it. One morning I get up, I thought it was the same son, wasn't. I get up and I go, "Morning, sweetie." He turns around all miserable and he goes, "Morning, mom." He like turned into a 15-year-old like a young man. It just freaked me out. His face looked different. He just wasn't my girlfriend anymore. His voice changed and, he just wasn't this goofy. Do you know what I did? I thought, how am I going to bond with this kid? We were still getting along and all that. We respected each other. We just didn't have that goofy, fun friendship going anymore. Do you know what I did? I became furniture. Do you know how I did this? I thought, what am I going to do? He became gothic. I'm like really conservative. He became gothic. He hung out with a wilder crowd. He had long hair. Sorry, I live downtown. This is really good for anybody because you're all going to have teenagers one day. Sorry, just a sec. He liked heavy metal music. He was a gamer. We had nothing in common. Nothing. So, you know what? I became furniture. I got a magazine, and when he was gaming, I would sit down beside him. By the way, I never allowed them to have consoles in their rooms. They could only go in like a rec room. So I never allowed them to have, so they could just shut the door and shut the whole world out. They had to do that in the middle of, in a family room or something. Anyway, so he'd be gaming. I'd sit down beside him with a magazine, and this would be me. I wouldn't talk to him, nothing. I wouldn't use it, take a phone. I would just have this magazine, and I'd look up every so often what he was doing. Next thing you know, he starts talking to me about his game. Eventually, within about a week, we're playing together. He's handed me a controller and showing me how to play. Next thing you know, he's making me a playlist of heavy metal music he thinks I might like. My favorite album became NWA's Greatest Hits. I'm not going to say that again. It's so filthy and rude. But I opened up myself. You always enter their world, but you sit there waiting to be invited. I just made myself furniture. I wasn't asking him anything, wasn't demanding. And next thing you know, we're listening to heavy metal music together. We're gaming together. So you see, I entered his world, but only when I was invited. Whereas really before, all of our chats were probably more in my world. To be honest, it was probably all my way for 14 years. And then it became his way, you see? Anyway, I'm going to tell you a funny story. He liked this racing game on the PlayStation. So he said, I'm going to go to the bathroom. So he left, and I was lousy at it. I was just upside down all the time, hitting all the guardrails, going off cliffs. I was a mess. I just can't get it going. So he goes to the bathroom. I've told this story a million times. If you've heard it, sorry. So he goes to the bathroom. Wouldn't you know, the one time he's not in the room, I aced it. I'm going around lapping. I'm like, oh, I get it. He comes back, and I said, you should have seen it. I was lapping. I was doing great. He looked at me like I was insane. And I'm saying, what? You should have, I swear. I thought he just didn't believe me. And he goes, Mom, that was my replay. I just replayed. I thought I was playing. So, that's dopey, Mom, right? So anyway, and we just had a blast. We had fun. We found how to change our relationship by me entering his world, but I made myself available to it. He didn't always invite me in, but I was always available to it. But then it got more common that we just sort of found a different kind of connection. Does that help? Does that make sense? Think about it. It's all your way for the first 14 years or whatever. It's got to switch over at some point. That's respect. Anyway, he He was very respectful too because he ended up finding games that I did like. Like I really like Guitar Hero, so it wasn't like I just did all his games that I couldn't do. He ended up saying, "Oh, you might like Guitar Hero," so we did, and then I actually I could actually do it. And then with the heavy metal music, he was very good at finding music he thought I might like because I like a good beat. I never know what the lyrics are; they're all screaming anyway. But yeah, so he would literally try and find things that I would like because I entered his world. And I didn't pretend to like something if I didn't. Like it wasn't phony at all. It was just, no, I hate that song, hate that. Oh, I kind of like that. Then he learned what I liked. He's still to this day, he's 33. He's still the one that understands my music more than anyone else does. I don't understand it. He can almost always pick a song that he knows I'm going to like. So yeah, work on it. It looks like I'm invading his space. I've done that before. It looks like it's tough. Okay, there's lots of different ways around that. Okay. Yeah, if you want to hire me, I can help you with that. But I got a million ideas. That was just what I did with my son. Okay. But we had a really good relationship before that. So it was sort of more seamless, but you might have to do some damage repair first. Because if he says you're invading his space, he doesn't want you around right now. So you got to work on your respect. You got to work on connecting with him first on a different level. The two most important skills with teenagers is listening to understand and show empathy, not listening to gather information to lecture with. You listen and then you stop talking. They'll talk to you more and then they'll start asking your advice. So listen to understand and show empathy. The second most important skill with teenagers is negotiating. A good example of that is they say, "Hey, I'm going to a party. Can I come home at 1 tonight?" I would say, "I'd rather you be home at 11." Then you say, "Okay, let's split the difference. How about 12?" Great. Okay, fine. Then if they're having a great time, I'd let them stay out later anyway. My 3-year-old takes hours to fall asleep. Any advice? Yeah, I would look into what you're doing with that 3-year-old. Like, are they still napping? My kids stopped napping at 12 months old. So they just didn't need it. They would just stop doing it. So if they're still napping during the day, that would be a reason. Also, what are they eating? They might have some food intolerances or something like that. I don't know. But those are two things I'd look at. Also, get one of those sound machines potentially. They make this, God, they're so loud. I can't believe kids sleep through them. But they evidently imitate I was going to say the womb, like they're really loud, like super loud. Sounds like you're in a wind tunnel or something. Evidently, even older kids and adults like those. It's a wind, I don't know, look it up. Something they might sleep. Those are just 3 little ideas. But I don't know what's going on. If you want to hire me, I might be able to figure it out if those things don't help. Oh, okay. He's 3 and he started banging his head into the floor when he cries and hitting your neighborhood. Okay, you might want to look up the tantrum busting course. It's a mini course up there in the link. Um, yeah, you might want to check that out. My daughter loves that Alexa does it. Oh yeah, Alexa would. Yeah, she would do that, wouldn't she? Oh yeah. I didn't even think about that. Dumb. But everyone I know who has that seems to have it. Oh, I think because the kids can reprogram it or something, they can tell to do something else. Because everyone I know who has one doesn't use those machines. They all seem to have a different machine, the sound machine that is separate. I think because the kids can't change it. I don't know. If they are banging their head on the floor or whatever, that's 3-year-olds don't usually do that. Um, yeah, usually it's 2, maybe 2.5. By 3, they usually think, well, this is going to hurt. They start to reason things out. They can still do it, but it's less likely to do it at that age. So, but yeah, I would just restrain them. If they're getting violent, hurting themselves, hurting someone else, or damaging property, you still ignore a tantrum. You don't look at them or talk to them, but you physically restrain them. You just hold them. You might say no, because they're old enough to say, you don't bang your head on the floor, and then you hold them just, like you're not even looking at them. You're just restraining them. It's going to get worse before it gets better, guaranteed. The bigger the storm, the bigger the rainbow. Everyone hires me to get the rainbow. I say, you ready to go through the storm? Because it's going to get worse before it gets better. If you didn't have respect before and they were in charge and they think you're trying to take over, they're going to get worse. So yeah, if you're going to hire me, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But it's worth it. It's worth it. It takes about 3 weeks to start seeing it, about 5 weeks to really get respect. But it takes about 3 weeks before the kids start to go, huh, you kind of know what you're doing now, don't you? And your relationship's getting better. You're playing with them more because that's a big part of it is playing with them, bonding with them. I use the hatch machine. I don't even know what that is. I think I've heard of that before. I don't know what that is. If it's late in the evening, is it okay to have consequence chore for him to be done then? Oh yeah, absolutely. You do the consequences when it's doable. Like you're not going to have a kid mop the floor when you're out in the car driving. You know what I mean? Like it's just when it's available. Like if you yell and your consequences, you have to play hide and seek with them for 10 minutes. You don't have to do it right then and there in the mall. I mean, you just do it when you can. So you make a note of it. Say, okay, we're going to do that for 10 minutes as soon as we get home, kind of thing. Thank you for your advice. You're very welcome. I love what I do. White noise machine. Yeah, those things are great. I never had anything like that with my kids. Oh, they were good sleepers though. So I've thought about getting that for myself, but I guess I can just use the Alexa for that, couldn't I? How to stop climbing. Okay, climbing, that's something, I just did a video on that. Last week. Anyway, climbing is something that there's three things that kids are born to do where they won't. They either will never do them or they might try them or do them for a while. They're born to do it. One is tantrums. My son had them. My daughter never did. The other one is climbing. Neither of my kids did that. And the other one is hitting. They're kind of born with that thing. They're either going to do those things or they're not. So with climbers, what you do is you childproof your house as much as possible. Get rid of anything they can use to climb with. And put bells on everything that you can't get rid of for them to climb on, like drawers that they can pull open. Put alarms on those. There's alarms you can put on when it's pulled open. I had one client who couldn't find her. I think it was an 18-month-old, could not find this kid anywhere, was literally ready to call the police. She was hysterical. Anyway, she was laughing when she was telling me this. She said she was in the kitchen and she heard giggling or something, and she looked up. The kid was on top of the fridge, had used the little drawers to get little toes in there, then used the bread maker right beside the fridge, and then was up on top of the fridge. If that kid had fallen on his head, could have killed him. So anyway, yeah, just get alarms on everything. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. Someone told me about this. Another one too is you can tie stuff. Oh, what was it? Someone just said yesterday, I think, or the day before doing a live, or a client. They tied all the chairs to the table or something. I can't remember what it was. It was something where they tied everything together so they couldn't pull it across the room to use to climb. Anyway. Climbs tables. I got rid of my chairs. I was really glad my kids weren't climbers. Okay. Mm. Okay. Can you tell me where you learned all this? I'm thinking this may be the direction I want to go in. Okay. Well, I'm 62 now, and I've been working with kids now for 51 years. It's taken me really that long to get this good at it. Like it's just experience. And I didn't learn much with my own kids. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. And I was always good with kids. I always knew how to get respect and be fun. They always wanted, I was the most popular babysitter. And also the parents used to book me in months in advance. If they had really difficult kids, they had to wait for me. Like they wouldn't even go out unless they could hire me. And so, yeah, I just always was kind of good at this. But here's the two things I think, I really believe this. If you're going to do this, because I deal with crisis work, life and death stuff, you have to be really, really confident with what you're doing, because it can be life and death. If you're going to like I used to specialize in teenage stuff, and it literally is life and death, a lot of it. So make sure it's huge responsibility. I take this really seriously. There's two things I think everyone needs to do if you're going to teach parenting. Number one is you have to finish the job with your own kids. Have you lived with teenagers? Have you raised them to young adulthood? Do you really know what the end result is? That you have to have done that. Plus, you have to have experience with hundreds of other kids with all challenges you can think of. I've gone into hospitals, homes, schools, detention centers, psych wards. I've worked everywhere with kids. I just built up all this level of experience and confidence because it's such a serious thing to teach. I take this extremely seriously. Those are two criteria. I think if you're going to do this, you have to have that, unless you're just going to teach potty training or something. You know what I mean? Like the big parenting picture, I think you need that wealth of experience. I was going to be a child psychologist. I tell this story all the time. I was about 20 and I was taking a prerequisite course. Within 1 week, they asked me to leave because I asked too many questions. What they were teaching was garbage. It was very patronizing, holier than thou. It was authority style crap and always trying to outsmart the kids, which I think is stupid. Anyway, so I argued with them constantly. And then all the other students started asking me questions. I should have held out. They would have paid me double to get rid of me. I'm sure they're better now. That was 40 years ago. I'm sure they're better now. But thank God I never became a child psychologist. A lot of my clients are child psychologists because parenting is different. It's personal. It's different from anything else. Anyway, so yeah, it's taken me 51 years to get here. That's why I don't teach people. I've had a lot of people approach me to come on, like to mentor them. But I say, I don't want to teach you how to do this. I want you to get out in the field and work with kids. I want you to work with troubled teens. I want you to work with handicapped children. I want you to work with violent children, abused children, suicidal teens, a drug addict. I want you to work with all that stuff. That is where you learn this. Okay. And it was the kids who told me to do this. The teenagers, I was mentoring troubled teens, and they said, you got to teach this, Lisa. And they said, because no one's ever talked to us like you do. And they said, you have to teach this. And I didn't listen to them. I just didn't get it because there wasn't no such thing. Teach what? What? How to talk to teenagers? Like, I just didn't understand it. Anyway. Okay, teenager. Oh, just a sec. I have to answer this. That's fine. Okay. My daughter's coming over, so she'll be here in 5 minutes. We live nearby. Okay, any advice on bedwetting for an older kid? We've tried the liquids, too close to bed, no screen time. Oh, no. The no screen time, no. It's not a behavioral thing. So if you start to discipline for bedwetting, it psychologically can mess them up. It's a function. It can be humiliating. And yeah, it's just something, treat it as a medical condition. Okay, no behavior whatsoever. Treat it as a medical condition. Get them up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom if you have to. Some kids just have slow to develop bladders, so they can be bedwetting. Even some adults do it. So it could be a physical problem. Take them to the doctor, get the doctor to check them out. There's not much they can do about that, by the way. But yeah, have them start, when they are peeing so they get more control. The liquids is really good. Never discipline for bedwetting. You're putting it in the behavior category, and that can mess them up. It can be humiliating. It's not a behavior thing. It's a physical thing. So they can't help it. It would be like disciplining a child who has one leg shorter than the other and limps. It's like that. You see what I'm saying? They can't help it. Yeah, stop limping. I'm gonna punish you for that. You see where I'm going with that? Okay. How to get my 13-year-old brother. Oh, I can't teach sister brothering. No, I only teach parenting. Oh, no screen time, too close to bedtime. Yeah, but I wanted to get that point across because a lot of parents do use discipline with bedwetting. But yeah, thanks for clarifying that. But yeah, so you didn't do that. Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, I wanted to get that point across because a lot of parents think that they can bribe them or discipline them. If you don't wet the bed tonight, I'll give you something, as if they can help it. Or if you do, you're going to get that. You see, they treat it like a behavioral thing, and it's not. Teenager that doesn't get along with coworkers at any job, you'd have to hire me for that one. That one's a bit trickier. I don't know what their personality, what's going on there. What kind of parent are you? Are you the pleaser parent? I'm guessing you are. Yeah, not potty training. Bedwetting is a really tricky one. It's really tricky. But yeah, I got to get the mind straight of the parents in dealing with it. That's all I'm focused on. It might be a long term, might take years to fix that one. But you got to get your mind straight around it and say, look, it's a medical condition. We're going to deal with it every single day. We're going to assume we're going to have a wet bed, or we're going to have to get the kid up in the middle of the night. So just get into a routine and don't make the kid change their own bed. You say, oh, well, that happens. It's just a medical condition. You can't help it. Let's clean it up. Okay, let's sing a song while we do it. You see what I mean? I would be really, really nervous of making the kid feel bad about it. Okay, if you want to check out my courses or my coaching, my free behavior board, it's all in the link above. I put it all in that link. It's called Linktree. Okay, my daughter did it. Anyway, and it just makes it easier for you to see everything I have to offer. Do you feel having a good partner helped the way you showed up as a parent for your kids? It's a very good question. I was actually divorced. But yeah, we always got along. Like, we never fought over money or kids, but we never really fought anyway. But, or not really fighter types. But anyway, yeah, it was wonderful, especially when they're little. I mean, I raised them on my own as teenagers, but when they were little, it was really nice. Oh, physically, just a second. Sorry, she forgot her key, so I had to let her in. Anyway, I got to go. My daughter's here, so we'll talk again tomorrow. Check out my link above if you want to know more, and I'll be back here again tomorrow. But oh, check out that video I just did today. I really like it. It's a good one.